My name is Debbie Debickus and I live in Tampa, Florida. Originally from Edinburgh in Scotland, United Kingdom, I underwent surgery last October 31st, 2023 to get a full vaginal hysterectomy and also a prolapse repair and a vaginal reconstruction. And here is my story. I know that many of you listening to this may feel nervous, may feel unsure perhaps, may feel scared, may have doubts, may book the surgery and cancel it, and book it and cancel it. For years I had all of those thoughts going through my head. And it started when I was about 50. I realised that there was something bulging out of my vagina down below. And I wasn't quite sure what it was. No matter what I said to my husband, when we have sex, is it normal? Does he think anything's wrong with me? He's like, no, I love you, our sex life's good, everything is fine. But I just felt something wasn't right. It was a deep heaviness. I just turned 50, that was 10 years ago. But it didn't really bother me. I felt it sometimes and sometimes I didn't. So whenever I went back to UK, I would go to my GP there and say, can I get a smear test and can you check if anything's wrong down there? And my GP said, oh, you have got a womb that's leaning backwards. And I was like, okay. And it's rather saggy, but that's normal. You've had 6 children, all vaginal deliveries. And as you get older, it loses that elasticity. It stretches and it's not as tight. But don't worry about it. There's things that you can do. You can go and get some exercises. You can go on YouTube and do tightenings and so forth. But nothing concrete. So, lo and behold, moved on. About a year later, it was getting worse. Every time I coughed, I felt this, as if something was dropping. So that went on for a few years, and then I kind of got used to that. So I realised that I started body clenching, and that became a habit. I would tighten my backside, my buttocks, and I would hold in. I am fantastic going to pee. I had no bladder problems at all. I would hold it in. I would tighten myself up. But whenever I coughed or I did a poo when I was constipated, I felt something coming out. So that went on again, wouldn't go away. Sometimes it was worse than others. So then it was about 5 years ago now. I went back to the UK and said, can I get some kind of surgery? Oh, no, we don't do that. NHS won't cover that. It's just one of those things. And it was like an acceptance of, this is it now. You're 55, you've had your kids, live with it. So I came back to UK to the US because I live in Tampa. I've got dual nationality. And again, I just lived with it. But I started to feel yuck. I didn't feel attractive. I didn't feel good. Oh, sorry, I'm getting tearful here. I didn't feel good as a woman. I kind of thought, is that my sexiness gone? I'd feel things coming out of me and I would try and have a look in the mirror and I couldn't see. My husband we would joke about it and I would say, look, why don't you come home and we'll have a quickie, because if you can have a quickie with me you can push whatever's coming out back in. I mean, we would laugh about it. I've got a very wonderful husband who's my best friend, but it still didn't make me feel right as a woman. It just didn't. So I did research. There wasn't a lot of research on it. There wasn't anybody talking how I'm talking about this. So then it was go back to 3 years ago. I started to do dancing at our local Y. And I'm not very good at coordinating, but I managed to do this dancing. Oh, excuse me, I've got my doggy here, my little Frenchie, and it's snoring. If anyone's got Frenchies, they snore terribly. Shush. So anyway, I do line dancing, thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the pickleball. I thought, I'm going to do this pickleball, it's great. And every time I was running, it got worse. I felt like something going down and dropping. And then I went to hit the ball, I felt something drop and I fell over and hurt my back. and felt as if something had really knocked out of place. And that managed to last about a year. I stopped pickleball, stopped dancing, stopped really even running or walking, because the minute anything went down there, it just felt as if there was a deep heaviness, like a sandbag. A sandbag. It's like a sandbag was between my legs. So I would push it up, I would wear tight jeans. If I'm walking, I would continually try and push it up and hold it in. And it became so bad that I went to back to the UK again. This was a year ago. I said to the doctor there, I'm really getting depressed. This isn't, this is, it's really bad now. And they went, well, we don't really do anything here. The NHS doesn't do it, but we can give you a stopper. I was like, a stopper? Yes, it's something you'll just put inside you, and then you can take it out when you want sex. I went, oh my God, is that what my life has come to, and my sexual activity has come to? And I said, okay, is that it? Yes. So came back to America because I live here. Spoke to my husband, and he said, you're miserable. You're miserable with this. You're changing. You're not the same. Why don't you go and see about getting something done here? So I do have medical insurance here with Florida Blue, and it was getting to a point where I would watch what I ate, because if I was constipated or if I coughed, I literally felt something fall out of me, and it felt like a ball. And then if it wasn't this ball or this head, it was a sandbag. So I happened to go to my doctor, and well, my normal doctor was off this day, and I got another doctor in the surgery, and I told him everything. I started tearing up, and he said, "Oh my goodness," he goes, "you need to. We're going to refer you to some gynae. That's a list of doctors. Take your pick." But he said, you're a young woman. Well, you know, very kind of him to say that. But living in America, if you're quite active, and you know, people at 83 is middle age, you know. So I said, oh, you're making me feel good. I wouldn't say I'm young. And he said, look, you're very active. You work full time. You're sexually active. He said, you want to do something about this. And I went, really? He goes, yes. I went, really? He went, yes, go and I'll give you this referral and go and see about it. So I left here thinking, oh my God, we can actually get something done. So I went back home, never told kids, my children, my adult children, never told anybody, never told anyone at all. Kept it to myself, and I found a wonderful MD, and his name is Ryan Hidalgo. And I found him through my referral letter, phone up these people, and I did my research, and I booked an appointment to see him. And I remember walking in thinking, oh my God, he's so young. He looks so young. I was, 59 then, and he looked like 25, and he wasn't 25, but I thought, oh jings. And I remember looking at him thinking, what a lovely, lovely soul, what a lovely man. I did my research on him, and he works for USF Health, Department of Obstetrics and Gynae. He's excellent at what he does, and the passion he had was unbelievable. He really treated me like a wonderful human being, a woman. And I wasn't kind of used to this, because I sort of wiped myself off because of the NHS and UK. So when he actually was speaking to me, and he goes, yep, we can do this. I left there thinking, wow, I'm really going to get this done. So he said, the good news is I would recommend or suggest a full vaginal hysterectomy, because he could see that my uterus had actually dropped so low, and that was a sandbag that I actually felt. And he also saw that the wall, the front and back wall, the stretched tissue with childbirth, with having 6 natural vaginal deliveries, it was so stretched that it was just pulled and pulled. So he said, let's do this full vaginal hysterectomy, vaginal repair and reconstruction. I was like, reconstruction? And he said, yes, we can tighten this up. And he used all of these words, which ligament this and suspension that. And he was going on and drawing pictures. And I sort of lost him at then. I was like, what's he drawing? So anyway, gave me this booklet, told me all his suggestions to go home and think about it, and then to come back. So I went home, and I remember going home looking through all these pictures, and I thought, frick's sake, am I picking a new vagina? So I had this all over the table, and my kids walked in. Well, a couple of my elder kids. And I went, oh, hi guys, as I've been to the doctor today, and have a look. I've got to pick a brand new vagina. What do you think? Well, of course, my kids are like, Mum, you're crazy. But I actually found myself quite humorous. But the humour was relief. It was like, wow, I might be 59, nearly 60. I've got a lot of living to do, and I've got a lot of enjoyment to do sexually, and connection and closeness, and I'm not written off, which actually brought tears to my eyes as a woman, because nobody really talks to you about this. No one, there's no groups, or maybe the people want to talk about it but are very private. And I thought, I'm private too, because I'd never told anybody about this. I never told my daughters, I never told my sisters, I never told my colleagues, my friends. I kept it all private. So I thought, maybe there's lots of people like me that might understand what I'm saying, doing this testimonial, recording, suggestions, advice, whatever you want to talk about, it being my story. So anyway, I went back to see Ryan Hidalgo, Dr. Ryan Hidalgo, MD. And he was as courteous and as nice and professional. And yes, he's not 25. I think he's like 38. He told me that he'd just become a father for the first time, a little boy. And he actually, the passion and the detail was so outstanding. And I remember my daughter saying, Mum, would you prefer to have somebody that's 65, done thousands of these, do this surgery, or somebody that's so passionate and has got accolades here and accolades there? And I was like, wow, I want someone that's passionate, got more passionate, and more knowledge to learn and to explore and to dedicate. And I thought, no. And I told my daughter Becky, no, I've chosen a really good surgeon that I feel so comfortable with, and he has that passion and the converse and communication that made me feel so relaxed. So I then went back to UK for my vacation, and October the 31st, we had rescheduled my surgery a couple of times. So I went into Tampa General to have the surgery. I was nervous. I'm not going to say that I wasn't. I was very nervous. I looked on YouTube to look for examples of what it feels like, why people did it, what it was involved, and I couldn't really find anything. So lo and behold, the morning of the surgery, I'm going in there, and I'm in Tampa General, and I've got 8 people around my bed. I'm like, doctors, nurses, anaesthetists, more doctors. I'm like, oh my God, we're signing this paper, signing that paper, signing this paper. 5 hours in surgery. 5 hours. He did a total uterus prolapse repair, but he did a full vaginal hysterectomy, which removed my uterus. And he did the reconstruction by lifting and doing all these prolapse repairs, lifting, tightening, and giving me a whole vaginal and repair and reconstruction along with my vaginal hysterectomy. He was very good. He said, we want to keep your ovaries, but if I see anything a bit untowards, we will take them out. But we do want you to keep your ovaries because hormonal for years and years and years yet. And I trusted him. I did. I just trusted him. I was like, I trust, just you do whatever you have to do. I remember waking up with a catheter in, and I remember seeing the anaesthetist who came to see me beforehand say, the first face you'll see will be me, and I'll ask you to cough and cough and cough. And lo and behold, I remember sitting up coughing and breathing, obviously, because during the surgery, I believe I was on a ventilator and everything was being done for me. So I think it was a really, it wasn't in and out 1 hour. It was a 5 hour surgery with a lot of people involved. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the expertise, the professionalism, and especially Dr. Ryan Hidalgo's passion and his team. Again, it was Tampa General. He's from USF Health Department of Obstetrics. Recovery was a bit odd because when I woke up and I've got this catheter and there's no staying in hospital there. You're like, okay, you're done now. Your husband's there. This is all your meds. Okay, go home, sort of. Whereas the NHS is different. You would stay in, I presume, for a day or two after surgery. My husband was fantastic as always, as my nurse. I remember him bringing me home. I'm driving along Bayshore briefly. I remember stuff, and I'm in bed, and I felt when the pain wore off, I felt uncomfortable down there. And the catheter was the worst thing. Ugh, the catheter was awful. So I had that in for 2 days. Then basically you couldn't do anything. You walked to the toilet, you couldn't go up and down the stairs, you had to be very, very careful. I don't like taking meds. I'm one of these people that, nope, I'll get through this myself, but I did have to take painkillers. 48 hours after, we went back to the USF part of Tampa General outpatients. Went in there, did some testing, make sure that I could pee, my bladder was fine, and the catheter was removed. And then I was told, yeah, you're fine, you're good, go home. I would say it took a good 2 or 3 days after that to walk more, just walk about. I was very scared to lift anything, totally scared to do anything like that. Very, very careful in going up and down the stairs. But within a week, I actually felt good. Yes, there was sutras. They call them sutras in America. I call them stitches in the UK, and they were dissolving. So sometimes I would get a bit pinky discharge, but nothing untowards like bleeding. After that, I was, says, please come back after 6 weeks. I went back and again checked everything. He said it looks good, and then that was it. But something turned in me about, let me think, that was October, that was in November. I was the beginning of January. I decided to run, and when I was running a bit, I felt as if something was dropping again. And I was like, nope, it's my mind, it's my imagination, this isn't happening. Because it's just, I'm sort of in a habit now of feeling something, and there's nothing there to feel. What possibly could there be? Because my uterus had been removed, the cervix had been removed, there's nothing in there to fall. But it was a different feeling. It was like something was coming out of me, but not from inside me. So anyway, sometimes that would happen and sometimes not. My husband and I had, picked up our love life, our intimacy again. And it was a very strange, and I'll talk about this because I'm a woman. It was very strange actually having sex again. I was so nervous. I was scared actually because it felt so different. It felt like I never felt like this in years. And what I realised was my vagina, the entrance was so tight that it felt really tight. And I hadn't felt that way for years and years, because after having all the children, I was just so open that I didn't really know what was to be tight. So that was strange. So I was clenched. My husband was like, "For God's sake, will you relax? Will you relax? Will you relax?" And I couldn't relax because I was just feeling on edge. So it did take a good few attempts. A few. Oh, my doggy! Come on, Gio! Whisht, shh, snoring glore. It did take quite a few attempts for me to just say, "Oh, for God's sake, girl, just let go." And we did resume a really healthy and nice sexual intimacy again. And I felt good. And then it was about 4 weeks ago, or 5 weeks ago, I thought, I feel this again. There's something there. So I went online. It's really good, Dr. Hidalgo. You can go online and send messages. And I sent a message to say, I don't know what's going on, but something's not right. I think something else coming out of me. And I thought, he's going to think I'm an absolute fruit nut, total fruit nut. Here's this person that's maybe, but you know what? He didn't. I got a message back saying, come in and see me. And I booked it for, well, like 2 weeks late. No, he wanted to see me right away, but I couldn't. So I went the following week. And the day that I was going happened to be the same day that I was flying back to the UK. So I went in to see him, and he was wonderful. And I said to him, I said, look, I feel as if something's coming out of me, and sometimes I bleed when we've had sex. There's like a pinky discharge. And he said, let's have a look. I says, I think it's a prolapse again. He goes, look, let's just have a look. So he got a nurse in, and he starts doing what he does down there. And I wanted to laugh because it was a bit like going to the dentist. Because when you go to the dentist, they go left, right, this, two, this, one, this, upper, this, negative, that. So I'm lying back, legs wide open, and he's going right, this, left, that. I'm going, oh my God. It's really funny how you can look in here and you can look down there, and it's like you're looking in the same thing. So when I had a little funny laugh to myself, and he said, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. And I said, oh God. He says, well, the good news is it's not a prolapse. Everything looks really healed there. It looks really good. But you do need a procedure. And you don't have to have this procedure, but one of your sutras, your stitches on the entrance has healed, or the skin's healed over it. So it's like a tag. It's like a skin tag. He said, we can leave it, or we can do the procedure. We can remove it now. And I went, go for it. So what I was feeling, because my vagina is so tight now and small, right, when you've got this tag coming out, I could feel that. Whereas when I was all floppy and prolapsed and so open there, I wouldn't have felt this. Right? So A, I wasn't going crazy. And B, this wonderful surgeon, doctor, said, let's do it now. And I said, go ahead. So he did. And, he even came in with all of this, not equipment, well, I suppose it was equipment. And he says, just in case you bleed more, I've got that on standby, this on standby. And I thought, this guy is just, I don't want to say a perfectionist, because I've not got a right to say that about him. But he's very talented and very real as a person in doing what he does. And the passion and commitment is there, which is 100%. And I'm not saying that other people aren't like that, but it worked for me, and I think he did an amazing job. So anyway, he snipped this and did that, and then I said, that's me. And he goes, yep, it's all done, you've had your procedure. It literally took 5 minutes. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, I'm actually flying, got to be at the airport in a few hours. And he went, today? And I went, yeah. And I said, why is that a problem? He goes, no, not at all. It's not a problem. He said, that'll, he had to put lidocaine in to numb me. He said, that'll wear off. He said, just he's very, very polite man. He says to me, just make sure there's no activity in there, down there for the next 48 hours. I was like, gosh, bless him. I says, no, no, that's going to be have a rest for a good few weeks. So anyway, lo and behold, left there and went back to work. And my daughter was laughing at me. She's going, Mum, what did you just happen to you? And I said, look, I'm fine. I've had this procedure, but all is good. Got on the flight, went to the UK, came back from UK just 2 weeks ago, and I'm now walking again, and I'm starting to jog again, and it actually feels really good. So if anybody, is thinking about getting this done and they've got any questions or any concerns, I would highly recommend it. I feel a woman again. I mean, I don't want to get tearful, but I'm losing weight. I feel good about myself. Um, I was 60 on March the 11th. Um, and yeah, I've got a lot of living to do, and I've got a lot of feeling good. And now that I know that I'm perfectly healthy down there, he managed to keep my ovaries. Everything went and got checked, which was taken away, and came back good. I've lost, what, 15, 16 pounds since January. I'm feeling good about myself. I can go and put on some sexy clothes again, and just feel nice. And not just like, oh, that's it, I've got to put a stopcock stuck inside me and pull it out when I want sex. No, you don't. You don't. It's definitely worth it to really seriously think about this. Um, I did get it the vaginal way, um, and that was a quicker way to recover. But yes, I would highly recommend it. It's brought my husband and I, into into a fun stage in our sexual life together. It's quite funny. I feel like a teenager again. But it's also made me just feel good. So hopefully that's helped anyone that's thinking about this. If anyone feels embarrassed or just anything, because my head went through all over the place. Hide it, something's wrong, what's wrong with me, oh, live with it, okay, well, that's you're past it now. I went through all this craziness in my head, and then just my husband was like, you need to do something about this. And because it was about my feeling, and for me, it wasn't for him. I don't think it was even for sex. It was for me to just feel good, feel that having 6 vaginal deliveries um doesn't mean to say that you have to put up with this, you know um and it's the best thing I've ever done. So again, if anybody wants this done in Tampa, I would highly recommend Dr. Ryan Hidalgo, MD. He is a wonderful, wonderful surgeon, and he is based at the USF, but he does all his surgeries in Tampa General. Okay, thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed my story and it's been perhaps helpful to anyone that's thinking about getting a prolapse repair done. Bye for now.